other founders that were on their first run in many ways, like I was.
Can you do Commonwealth fashion? Can you do sustainability? Can we make sure the point of view is really in the right ethos?
There's still a whole life, a real, authentic, fun life that's happening behind the scenes. I'm just grateful that
Paris, city of lights, glamour, and high fashion. But last night, it turned into the city of tears. Because right there, under the flashing cameras at one of the biggest fashion shows of the year, Meghan Markle's carefully crafted world completely fell apart. And it wasn't just awkward, it was a full-on breakdown, caught live, broadcast to millions who couldn't believe what they were watching. This wasn't supposed to happen. She'd planned everything down to the last detail. The gown was custom. The hair was perfect. She was ready to remind everyone who she is. But here's the thing. Paris had other plans. And what went down that night? It's gonna leave you speechless. Now, before we get into what actually triggered those tears and the chaos that followed, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more wild celebrity moments like this. Trust me, what happened backstage is even crazier. Let's dive in. It all started so perfectly. Meghan had arrived in Paris for Balenciaga's highly anticipated fall-winter showcase. And listen, this wasn't just another fashion show for her. This was her first major European fashion appearance in years. The first time she'd stepped onto a stage like this since stepping away from royal life. Think about that for a second. After everything that happened, after all the distance she'd put between herself and that world, Paris was supposed to be the moment she reminded everyone she's still a major player. For months, she'd been quietly planning this exact night. Insiders say she saw the Paris Fashion Week invitation as her chance at a complete fresh start. Her European redemption, if you will. Because here's the thing. Things had been pretty quiet back home. The reception to her ventures wasn't exactly what she'd hoped for. That wine brand she launched, lukewarm response at best. The Netflix projects, they didn't quite land the way everyone expected them to. So, Paris represented something bigger than just a fashion show. It was her chance to hit the reset button on her entire image, her opportunity to step back into the spotlight on her own terms. And boy, did she come prepared. Every single detail was calculated. The hair was sleek, perfectly styled without a strand out of place. The gown was custom made, shimmering under every flashbulb that went off. When she stepped onto that carpet, she looked like someone who was ready to reclaim her spot on the global stage. Confident, polished, ready. The message she was sending was crystal clear. She wasn't retreating from anything. She wasn't hiding. She was re-entering the conversation. And she was doing it draped in high fashion with what looked like total confidence. At least that's how it appeared at first. The cameras loved her entrance. Everything seemed to be going exactly according to plan. But somewhere between the champagne smiles and the constant flashing lights, something started to shift.
I don't know yet. I'm not sure.
I was just going to say that applies to every adult. That applies to me.
Yeah.
If you were watching closely, you might have caught it. There was this shaky smile that flickered across her face, a slight mist in her eyes, the kind of expression that you could easily mistake for emotion, maybe even just exhaustion from the intensity of the night. Most people didn't think much of it in the moment, but what nobody realized yet, not the photographers, not the fashion insiders mingling around her, not even the people watching the live stream from home, was that this carefully orchestrated evening was about to go completely sideways. And when it did, there'd be no hiding it, no spinning it, no way to control.
Meghan Markle is facing backlash after posting an Instagram story showing her lounging in a limo with her feet.
What millions of people were about to witness. Because here's what was really happening behind the scenes, and trust me, this is where things started going wrong way before anyone saw those tears. Meghan's invitation to the show was genuine, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't quite as exclusive as her team had let on. When she walked into that venue expecting the VIP treatment she'd pictured in her head, reality hit a little different. She got seated several rows back from the runway. Now, that might not sound like a huge deal to most people, but in the fashion world, seating placement is everything.
Meghan Markle's ancestors are not going to continue to let people play in her face. Breaking news out of Florida, a judge has granted Princess Meghan.
It's a statement. It tells everyone in that room exactly where you rank in the hierarchy. And while A-listers like Bella Hadid and Dua Lipa were getting those prime front row spots, the ones everyone fights for, Meghan found herself positioned further back. She wasn't even included in the main press shot lineup. You know, those carefully arranged photos where all the important guests get captured together for the official coverage. That had to sting. But get this, it gets worse. As she made her way through the venue, stylists and influencers who were milling around started whispering.
What do you mean you're mad about Meghan Markle's walk? If all those cameras are on me, I'm getting pictures taken.
And in fashion circles, people aren't exactly subtle about their opinions. Multiple people were caught saying her outfit felt off theme for the event. Too heavy, they said, for Balenciaga's minimalist aesthetic that everyone else seemed to nail. You could almost hear the snickers as she walked past certain groups. Now, whether that's fair criticism or just fashion world snobbery, it doesn't really matter in the moment. What matters is she could feel it, that energy, that judgment hanging in the air. And then there's the moment with Demna, Balenciaga's creative director.
How did you arrive at your own uniform, and is uniform the best solution for working women?
This guy's the mastermind behind the whole show, right? The person everyone wants to impress. When other VIP guests arrived, he was all warmth, hugs, kisses on both cheeks, that whole European greeting thing that makes you feel like you're part of the inner circle. But when Meghan approached him, she got a brief nod. That's it. Just this quick acknowledgement before he moved on to greet someone else with actual enthusiasm and warmth. Imagine flying all the way to Paris, getting dressed up in custom couture, thinking you're about to have this massive comeback moment, and the person running the entire show barely acknowledges you exist.
4 traces showed that Meghan is trying to harm her husband to copy Diana's case. The Sussexes said they were involved.
Ouch. Throughout the event, people around her started noticing she looked visibly tense. A journalist who was seated nearby later described how she kept checking her phone constantly. Like every few minutes, she'd glance down at the screen, scroll a bit, then look back up. The journalist figured she was probably waiting for coverage to start going live online, checking to see how the photos were being received, monitoring the social media reaction as it happened in real time. That's not exactly the behavior of someone who's relaxed and enjoying the moment. You know what I mean? The tension kept building. She'd shift in her seat, adjust her dress, look around the room like she was trying to read the energy, figure out if people were watching her, judging her. Her whole demeanor had changed from that confident entrance on the carpet. And about halfway through the show, the large screens positioned around the venue suddenly lit up with something nobody expected. Something that would flip this entire night upside down and turn what was supposed to be her big comeback into something she'd never forget, and not in a good way.
Meghan Markle just gave a masterclass in how to destroy your personal brand in 15 seconds.
The screens around the venue suddenly lit up with this cinematic montage, part of Balenciaga's presentation celebrating rebellious elegance throughout fashion history. Beautiful stuff, honestly. It blended archival runway moments with clips of iconic women who'd shaped fashion and culture, women who pushed boundaries and disrupted the status quo, and then, out of nowhere, her images started popping up on those massive screens. First, a photo from 2020, her and Harry leaving Buckingham Palace. Just a flash, but unmistakable. Then a tabloid headline.
No wonder Christine Scott ignored Meghan's attempts to approach her, but shows great respect for Queen Elizabeth. Recently, Meghan made
Duchess divides opinion. Bold letters you couldn't miss. And then the screens did this slow zoom on a still from her Oprah interview. That moment, everyone remembers, frozen right there for the entire Paris fashion elite to see. You could hear gasps ripple through the crowd. People weren't sure what they were watching. Was this intentional? Was Balenciaga calling her out in the middle of their own show? Nobody knew, but the energy shifted instantly. People started whispering, pointing at the screens, then glancing over at where she was sitting.
Fans slammed Meghan Markle for attending a Balenciaga fashion show after the brand was canceled for using children in a creepy...
Now look, the montage was meant to celebrate cultural disruptors, women who'd faced intense scrutiny and lived under a microscope. Her images were included symbolically, not to attack her. At least that's what Balenciaga's team would say later. But in that moment, with the whole room watching and cameras rolling live, the intent didn't matter. Things were going sideways fast. Meghan completely froze. That signature composed smile just vanished. Her whole expression dropped. Everything she'd walked in with disappeared within seconds. She leaned toward her publicist, and people nearby said,
Meghan mocked a model who fell on the runway, and Camilla laughed at the Inuit people welcoming her. No one noticed that, in fact,
her lips formed words that looked like "turn it off." Her hand was visibly shaking as she gestured toward the screens. And then came the moment everyone remembers. Tears started streaming down her face. She was actually crying right there in her seat while the montage kept playing for everyone to see. A camera operator nearby caught every single second. The tears, the trembling, the way she turned away trying to hide it. But there's nowhere to hide at a live-streamed fashion show with cameras everywhere.
We may never know if Meghan actually knew that's where Princess Diana died, but if she didn't know, if she genuinely didn't...
The entire room shifted. Some people looked concerned, others uncomfortable, and yeah, some looked like they were living for the drama. This wasn't supposed to be part of the show, but it became the only thing anyone could focus on. All eyes were locked on her. The clip started spreading before the montage even finished. People had their phones out. Of course they did. First it hit TikTok, seconds after it happened. Then Twitter exploded. Within an hour, every gossip site had it plastered everywhere. TMZ, Daily Mail, Page 6. Everyone running the same footage with their own dramatic spin on what went down.
Breaking today, Meghan Markle pushes back against her Diana death stunt in Paris.
The internet absolutely exploded. That 30-second clip of her crying hit TikTok first, then jumped to Twitter, and within minutes, it was literally everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, every platform you can think of. And it wasn't just getting shared, it was getting remixed. People were adding slow motion effects, dramatic music overlays, zooming in on her face. The memes started rolling in almost immediately. Some were sympathetic, sure, but others absolutely ruthless. Within an hour, and I mean a single hour, every major gossip outlet had the footage plastered across their front pages.
I saw a Meghan Markle video yesterday that I honestly was not sure if it was true, but now the New York Post has picked it up. I saw from Meghan Markle on
TMZ ran with it. Daily Mail went wild with the coverage. Page 6 jumped on it. The headlines were everywhere. Meghan Markle breaks down during Balenciaga Paris show. Tears in Paris, caught on camera at Fashion Week. You couldn't escape it even if you tried. By the end of the night, that clip had racked up over 20 million views across all platforms combined. 20 million people. But get this, while the internet was going absolutely crazy,
Anna Wintour releases fresh evidence that Meghan Markle faked her pregnancy in new Vogue documentary on Disney UK.
Backstage at the show turned into total chaos. Witnesses said Meghan locked herself in a private dressing suite for nearly 20 minutes. People outside the door described hearing muffled crying through the walls. Then tense phone calls started. Voices going back and forth, getting heated. A member of her security team was apparently overheard saying, "She's done. She's leaving." And that's exactly what happened. She didn't even wait for the show to finish. Before the final model hit that runway, Meghan was already gone. She slipped out through a back entrance, head down, with 2 security guards flanking her and her assistant.
There is a new storm brewing around Meghan Markle, the wife of Prince Harry. All has started with an Instagram post.
Who looked absolutely shaken. And of course, the cameras didn't miss her exit either. The footage of her leaving, eyes red, mascara visibly smudged, clutching her phone tight, became the second viral moment of the night. Some people said it was even more intense than watching her cry during the show, because you could see she was trying so hard to hold it together and just couldn't anymore. Here's what's crazy though. Back at whatever hotel she was staying at, her team went into what insiders described as total panic mode. Sources said she wanted the footage taken down immediately.
Looking like she thinks the runway is for her, one viral comment read, "Someone needs to tell her they're just escorting her to her chair."
Just scrub it from the internet, make it disappear, do whatever it takes. But here's the problem. Balenciaga owned the broadcast rights to that entire show. The whole thing had been live streamed to millions of people worldwide. It was archived, clipped, re-uploaded to hundreds of different accounts across dozens of platforms. There was absolutely nothing her team could do about it. The moment was out there and it wasn't going anywhere. No amount of phone calls or requests could put that back in the box. The theories started flying almost as fast as the footage spread.
Come on now. We knew it wasn't going to be long after Meghan just broke the internet.
Some people were convinced she was crying because of the montage, seeing those images of herself flash on those giant screens without any warning. Others insisted it was about getting snubbed by the fashion elite all night, the bad seating, the cold reception from the creative director, the whispers about her outfit. But there was this one rumor that kept circulating among people in the know. A Paris-based journalist claimed she'd overheard Meghan on a heated phone call before the event even started. Something about Netflix, image rights, who controls what footage.
What happens when television's most respected interviewer sits across from one of the most polarizing figures of modern royalty?
If that's actually true, maybe the Balenciaga show wasn't what caused everything. Maybe it was just the final straw after weeks or months of stress piling up behind the scenes. Whatever really happened that night, one thing became crystal clear to everyone watching from home and everyone who was there in person. This wasn't the comeback she'd spent months planning, not even close. Paris was supposed to remind the world she still got it. Instead, it showed something completely different. The internet was completely divided on what actually went down that night. Some people were convinced it was the montage that set everything off.
Meghan. Once a figure presented as misunderstood, she was increasingly cast as provocative. Even sympathetic voices
seeing your own face pop up on giant screens without warning, mixed in with tabloid headlines and controversial moments from your past, that'd shake anyone, right? Those people saw it as a moment of genuine shock and hurt, like she'd been ambushed by her own history playing out in front of Paris's fashion elite. But others weren't buying that explanation at all. They insisted it wasn't about the screens. It was about everything that happened before the montage even started. The seating snub, getting pushed to the back while other celebrities got front row treatment. The whispers about her outfit.
New York Post and Page 6, you both should be put out of business as of today because of these absolutely disgusting and morbid headlines that you...
The cold shoulder from the creative director. To them, she'd been getting disrespected all night, and the tears were about finally hitting her limit after being treated like she didn't belong there. Here's where it gets interesting, though. There was this third theory floating around that went deeper than either of those explanations. A Paris-based journalist dropped this detail that got people talking. She claimed Meghan had been overheard on a pretty heated phone call before the event even kicked off. And it wasn't about seating or fashion. It was apparently about Netflix, about image rights, about who controls what footage gets used and where.
Their outfits will be something to behold. The UK event, overseen by BAFTA-winning film director Stephen Daldry, has been...
The journalist said the conversation sounded tense, like there was some kind of disagreement happening behind the scenes that nobody at the show knew about. Now, if that's actually true, and we can't know for sure, it paints a completely different picture of what happened. Maybe the Balenciaga show wasn't the problem at all. Maybe it was just the final straw. Like she'd already been dealing with stress building up for weeks or months about business stuff, contracts, control over her image. And then she shows up to this fashion show thinking it's going to be her big moment, but instead everything goes wrong. The bad seating, the cold reception.
Shocking new details of Meghan Markle's major row with Vogue magazine.
And then her face appearing on those screens without her team coordinating at first. That could have been the thing that just broke through whatever she'd been holding back. Listen, fashion critics made this point that's pretty significant. They noted that Balenciaga, using her images in that montage, wasn't coordinated with her team at all, meaning she had no idea it was coming. And for someone who's built an entire brand around reclaiming control of her own story, being used in someone else's narrative without even knowing about it, that's gotta hit different. It's kind of ironic when you think about it. She spent years fighting.
The buzz around the Graham Norton show was louder than ever that evening. Producers had promised a special royal guest
to control how she's portrayed. And then Paris reminds her that sometimes you don't get that control no matter how hard you try. Some insiders suggested this wasn't really about one bad night at a fashion show. It was about everything piling up. The projects that didn't land the way she hoped, the deals that fizzled out, the constant scrutiny from people who'd never let her move past certain narratives. And maybe Paris was just the moment where all of that became too much to keep hidden behind the polished smile and perfect styling. Whatever the real reason was, and honestly, it might have been a combination of all these things.
Now, I know this really takes some doing, but this is Meghan Markle's sickest stunt yet.
The result was the same. Millions of people watched her lose her composure on a live stream, and everyone had their own interpretation of why it happened. Within hours of that footage going viral, her team went into full damage control. They put out this carefully worded statement that was so polished. You could see the PR fingerprints all over it. It said she was deeply moved by Balenciaga's tribute to women who've endured public scrutiny, and that the moment reflected her compassion and connection to the message of resilience and empowerment.
Let's go down to Anne Widdecombe. Anne, you get mentioned in the series. Were you expecting that, and what was your reaction?
Resilience, empowerment, all those buzzwords that sound inspiring but feel pretty hollow when you're explaining away crying on camera. And honestly, the public wasn't buying it. Comment sections everywhere exploded. Thousands of people said it felt like spin, trying to turn an awkward moment into some empowering statement. I mean, she'd spent years building this unbothered image, and now suddenly it's all about compassion and resilience. The timing felt way too convenient. Some comments got harsh. People said she was turning herself into the victim again instead of just admitting it was an uncomfortable night.
While visiting Paris, Meghan Markle shot a video right near the spot where Princess Diana's fatal accident.
Others pointed out how the statement came out so fast with such perfect corporate language that it couldn't be genuine. She was crying hours ago, and now there's a polished press release about empowerment. It didn't add up. But check this out. The British tabloids went absolutely brutal. The Sun ran headlines like tears, tantrums, and tension, while picking apart every moment. Daily Mail broke down her body language frame by frame. One commentator wrote, "For a woman who built her empire on image control, losing composure in Paris was like a general dropping her sword mid-battle."
Guys, I have such a good show for you today. We need to talk. So much stuff coming out right now. It's kind of unbelievable.
Harsh, but it captured what a lot of people were thinking. Here's the wild part, though. Word got around that Balenciaga's team wasn't happy either. Insiders said the brand wanted elegance and sophistication at their show. They didn't invite her to create a scene that'd overshadow the collection they'd spent months preparing. Some people close to the brand felt like what happened disrupted their big night. And it gets messier. This viral TikTok video showed two influencers seated near the runway, laughing and whispering. You can hear them pretty clearly. She's crying again.
Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and...
Over what now? The mockery was caught on camera and spread almost as fast as the original footage. That's when Balenciaga started quietly backing away. They removed her name from press lists. They skipped releasing any official photos featuring her. Their social media accounts, which usually repost every celebrity guest, completely ignored her. not a single post. It was like she hadn't been there at all. Her team had apparently planned way more than just the show. There was supposed to be a follow-up Vogue feature, photo spreads.
Beyond desperate. And when Meghan couldn't even pull off an air kiss with her apparent BFF, the new...
Maybe even a brand partnership announcement. But after that night, everything got frozen. Nobody wanted to touch what became the most talked about Fashion Week moment, for all the wrong reasons. Reports started coming out about what was happening behind closed doors back home, and honestly, it added a whole other layer to this story. Insiders said Harry, who'd stayed in California during the entire event, was absolutely furious about how everything played out. And here's the thing, apparently he'd told her not to go to Paris in the first place.
While visiting Paris, Meghan Markle shot a video right near the spot where Princess Diana's fatal accident.
Sources claimed he thought it was too risky, too high profile, especially given how things had been going lately. But she insisted. She reportedly said she needed to remind the world who she is. Well, the world was reminded all right, just not in the way anyone planned. By the time she got back to California, word is she went completely quiet. Friends described her as reassessing everything. Her public appearances, her strategy, what events she'd attend moving forward. She was apparently taking a major step back from big public moments.
Meghan Markle reportedly had a full meltdown, and this time, according to Neil Sean, she allegedly lost it over Victoria Beckham.
Which is pretty telling when you think about it. This was supposed to be her comeback tour, and now she's retreating again. Critics started framing the Paris moment as a genuine turning point. Not just a bad night, but the night where everything she'd been building finally collapsed under pressure. Some observers noted the irony. She'd spent years working to control how she's portrayed, managing every narrative, crafting every image. And now, the narratives were controlling her instead. She couldn't spin this one.
Apparently, Meghan Markle is now the reincarnation of Princess Diana's wardrobe department. After her latest Paris escapade,
Couldn't reframe it, couldn't make it disappear, no matter how many polished statements her team released. Listen, what happened in Paris wasn't just some PR mishap that'd blow over in a news cycle. It felt symbolic to a lot of people watching. It showed the cracks that had been forming for a while, the exhaustion underneath all the ambition, the fragility behind that carefully maintained image. For someone who'd built an entire brand on being polished, composed, in control, losing it on a live stream hit different. She went to Paris with this whole plan, right? Show up looking flawless, remind everyone she's still got influence in the fashion world.
okay, picture this. Meghan Markle strutting out of Paris hotel like she's just won America's Next Top Duchess.
Prove she belongs on that global stage. She wanted to walk in with confidence and walk out with people talking about her comeback. Instead, Paris stripped all of that away. The city didn't care about her plans or her team's strategy or how she wanted to be seen. It just exposed what was really there when things didn't go according to script. And that's what made this moment stick in people's minds. It wasn't about the designer she wore or which celebrities were sitting near her or even the montage itself. It was about watching someone who'd spent years building this image of having it all together suddenly.
Meghan Markle is gracing Instagram with a reel so try-hard, it could have been lifted straight from a 2015 lifestyle blog.
Not having it together at all. Right there in front of millions with nowhere to hide. Some people felt sympathetic. They saw a human being under immense pressure finally reaching a breaking point. Others saw it as karma or validation that the polished image was never as solid as it seemed. But either way, everyone was talking about it. Everyone had an opinion. And that footage of her crying, her exit with smudged mascara, her team's desperate damage control, it all became part of a story she couldn't rewrite. The fashion world moved on pretty quickly.
Paris Fashion Week, making her first Fashion Week appearance in over a decade. The Balenciaga show was clearly meant to be her grand...
By the next morning, Paris was already buzzing about the next show, the next collection, the next moment. But the internet kept that clip alive. It kept circulating, kept getting reshared, kept sparking debates about what really happened and what it all meant. Look, by the next morning, Paris had already moved on. The fashion world doesn't stop for anyone's drama. There's always another show, another collection, another moment waiting to happen. But the internet wasn't letting this go. That 30-second clip of her crying kept circulating, kept getting reshared.
You know, I told you this would happen, didn't I, right, chums? I said that this was going to be the deal. Oh, yes. If, of course, you've been...
Kept sparking new conversations days and weeks later. It became one of those moments that just lives on in pop culture, you know. Back home, where it is, she's gone quiet, taking time away from the spotlight, rethinking her whole approach to public appearances. And honestly, that might be the smartest move right now. Sometimes you just need to step back and regroup when things don't go the way you planned. Here's the deal, though. That moment in Paris is going to be replayed for years to come. Not because of the Balenciaga collection she went to see.
Anna Wintour said NL. WWE headquarters in chaos as Anna Wintour kicks out Meghan from Gala 2024.
Not because of which celebrities were sitting front row, not even because of what she was wearing, despite all the planning that went into it. It'll be remembered because for the first time in a long time, someone who'd built an entire brand on being polished and in control couldn't hold it together when the cameras were rolling. She went to Paris to prove she still has influence, glamour, and a place on the global stage. She wanted to remind everyone she's still a major player. Instead, the city stripped away all that carefully crafted presentation and showed something completely different. Something real, something human, something she couldn't script or manage, no matter how good her PR team is. And listen.
Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour loudly boos at Meghan Markle as she's dragged out of Olympic Games 2024.
Whether you sympathize with her or think she brought it on herself, whether you see it as a vulnerable moment or something else entirely, none of that really matters in the end. What matters is that millions of people watched it happen live. They saw the tears, the exit, the aftermath, and you can't unsee that. You can't spin it away or rewrite it, no matter how many statements get released. Paris was supposed to be her comeback. Instead, it became the night when the image she'd spent years building couldn't hold up under unexpected pressure. That's what people will remember. That's what made this moment stick. And honestly, that...
You know, how insensitive it was for her to be videotaping around Diana's death scene, the fact that she was at a...
30 seconds told a story no amount of PR could ever write. So what do you think really happened that night? Was it the montage that set her off, or was it everything building up before she even got there? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think went down. And if you're into these deep dives on viral celebrity moments and the stories behind what we see online, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Smash the like if this story was as wild to you as it was to me. And turn on those notifications so you don't miss the next one. Because trust me, there's always another moment breaking the internet. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.